It's not just a board game, it's a representation of the loathing and self loathing which exists in and between these two particular generations. It is fierce and unrelenting, and this bitterness only seems to increase daily. Let me start off by saying I am a boomer. I was born in 1965 during the week that the song Satisfaction was number one on the Billboard charts, and everyone was thinking Mick Jagger was the second coming of Christ. Yes, yes, I know technically I was born during the first year of Generation X, but let's be real. I was raised and brought up as a boomer 100%. With that all said, I am fully aware of how the millennials view my kind. Let's just say that it is with horrible disdain.
Shut your ugly old time ancient ass up.
Case in point, I went on Reddit the other day and was presented with this. What a piece of advice that old people like to give that is absolutely useless in 2023. This was followed by several snarky responses, such as kids these days don't know how to make a marriage work, even if children are involved. This gem spoken by my aunt, who's been divorced 3 times with children by 2 different men. Okay, boomer. I'm 33 and still get told to just walk in there and ask for a job. LOL. Also, my dad thinks that if I tell people my parents are divorced, they'll be sympathetic as if it's still a rarity. LOL. He's old and out of touch. He's still in the mindset that it's rare enough that you should pity kids of divorced parents. Hmm. Okay, boomer. I'm currently on FMLA with my newborn daughter for 12 weeks, paid, thankfully, in a good state where this is a thing. My parents have told me try to get back to work way before the 12 weeks is up. It'll look good to your employer. They can't comprehend that is not the point. Okay, boomer. My grandpa claims he went to a construction site every day asking for work, and after being turned down each time, showed up and worked for free until they hired him. Each time the story is told, he gets a year younger, and the amount of time he worked for free increases by 1 day. Okay, boomer. My parents both worked when I was a kid, and my grandma watched me. I legit spent most of my childhood alone, and I've only recently come to the conclusion that this fact, along with how little emotional intelligence my parents have caused extreme damage to my emotional, personal, and social development. Okay, boomer. Even retail and fast food jobs are all online now. Boomers think you can walk into a Fortune 500 company and walk out as an accountant. I was literally told that the way to get a job was to just show up and not leave until I spoke with a hiring manager.
Yet it's very easy to blame your parents for your own dysfunction, particularly if they're boomers. Oh my God! What's to be done with the boomers?
There are currently 83.1 million millennials in the US. 68% earn less than their parents at their age. 63% earned a degree, and 85% use social media as a news source. The generation of Americans born between the mid 1960s and early 1980s are known as Generation X, or the silent generation as they are called now. There are 65 million of them, and they represent 34% of the workforce and generate 63% of the income in the workforce. 35% of them have college degrees, and the average Gen Xer has 20,000 in student loan debt. Now we come to the boomer generation. They are 75 million strong, although shrinking a little bit every day. Around 42% of the US population are boomers, and everyone knows number 75, Mean Joe Green. Here is a representation of 4 generations. Together it seems harmonious and cooperative. At closer glance, we see where the contention lies. All is not good and well with our millennials and boomers. You have seen the words "okay boomer" several times now. For those who do not know, the words "okay boomer" is perceived and often intended as a cross generational dismissal, a way for young people to snipe, Never listen to anyone over 50. In her book, Okay Boomer, Let's Talk: How My Generation Got Left Behind, Jill Filipovic, a millennial lawyer, delivers forth a treatise on how the boomer generation royally screwed her generation out of just about every important measure of success and contentment available in the world. She describes different points and areas that she focuses on. So let's look at some of these. The first of these points is politics. Filipovic notes that millennials are underrepresented in our government. Nearly 80% of senators and two-thirds of the U.S. House of Representatives are 55 or older. Just 7% of reps in Congress are millennials. There is not a single millennial in the U.S. Senate. Next, we have education. Private education for millennials has cost 300% more than it was for boomers. Consequently, 1 in 10 millennials carry student loan debt in the six figures. By comparison, when the average boomer was 30 something, their educational debt amounted to just $2,300 in today's dollars. As a result, most students became dependent on loans. This combined with higher tuition costs, lower millennial earnings, and the Great Recession helped spur the financial crisis they're in today. Next, we consider jobs. She says that boomers were the last generation to enter the job market offering living wage, blue collar work. It was common to go from high school straight into a factory, which helped keep nuclear families afloat. Once factories and mines closed nationwide over the last few decades, this important source of livelihood was gone. The 2008 recession further compounded the problem. Next up, retirement savings. 70% of working boomers had access to employer sponsored retirement plans in 2012. More than 40% of working millennials aren't eligible to participate in retirement plans because their company doesn't offer one, because they work too few hours to qualify, or because they haven't been employed long enough. What about housing? The cost to build homes has increased so much since the financial crisis of 2008 and then again in 2020-21. It is now almost impossible for millennials to find affordable housing. When coupled with deflated incomes, millennial homeowners have paid upwards of 60% more for their first homes than boomers did, adjusted dollars factored. Because of this, millennials are less likely to own a home than any previous cohort except the greatest generation who came of age at the close of the Great Depression. Then there's the internet. Filipovic notes how the premise of a smarter, better informed populace, thanks to the internet, has been thoroughly dashed as bad actors have exploited these tools for personal gain, resulting in increased bullying, misinformation, and the weaponization of rhetoric that fuels bigotry, violence, slaughter, and ethnic cleansing. And despite social media's ability to connect us, millennials, who are the heaviest adult social media users, are a lonely generation. 22% of millennials listed the number of friends they have as zero. Possibly as a result, millennials are more likely to suffer from depression than older generations. Older millennials may be the most depressed 30 somethings in American history. Filipovic writes, noting that due to larger incidents of drug overdoses and suicides, their mortality rate is 20% higher than Gen Xers at the same age. They have higher rates of substance abuse, high blood pressure, and colitis as Gen Xers at the same age. By contrast, boomers are the longest living generation in American history.
never forget that knowledge travels faster than the speed of self-righteousness. Like, your opinions are kind of worthless if they're unbendable over time.